Welcome everyone. Happy Friday. Here we are again, this wonderful group of women that I get the pleasure of hanging out with every Friday and prepping with all week to get you the content you have today. And I'm really excited about this week because it feels a little different since last Friday, doesn't it? If you're in the chat room and you feel like we're making some progress, let us see your enthusiasm in our chat. It definitely, you're hearing, I'm not sure what I'm hearing. I think you have to just, depending on where you live, visit your state and local websites to understand where you are in this process, because if you listen to the news, your head starts to spin. You're hearing about all of these reopenings, but what does reopen really mean? It means something different from one municipality to another. I will tell you from finally sunny New Jersey, our state parks and our golf courses open tomorrow at sunrise. I am so happy that my 17-year-old son is going to be able to get out of this hair that's on my head and get out on the golf course. So I hope the rest of you have small celebrations that you can look at and just appreciate just the little things in life now. If you've joined us on past calls, I've often mentioned gratitude, right? The fact that all the ladies on this call are still working is a wonderful thing. And perhaps, you know, somebody, some people, some things, some forces have been trying to tell us something. So again, keep your comments coming in the chat room. Tell us about your small celebrations, and let's now jump right in. This is Selling in a Time of Uncertainty, What's Trending, Inspiration, and Spring Cleanup. I am your moderator, Kellyanne Zuccarelli. I am the Senior Vice President and National Program Manager for New Construction and Condominium Financing at Wells Fargo Home Mortgage. I am joined by a great group of women, and this week our special guest is Angela McKay. Angela is the Vice President and Client Experience at ECI Software Solutions, Lasso, Mark Systems, and LotView. All of the women on this panel are very involved in NAHB, and recently Angela served as the former Communications and Education Chair representing PWB. Angela has facilitated leadership sessions and presented on branding and influence of the female buyer. Hot topic, right? She was the recipient of the PWB National Member of the Year in 2020 at our most recent IBS. So Angela, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. And then the three women that join me each week on this call, we'll start with Carol Morgan. Carol Morgan is the founder and president of Denim Marketing, Public Relations, Social Media, and Digital Marketing. Next we have Leah Fellows. Okay, Leah is the founder of Blue Gypsy Inc. She's an online sales counselor, trainer, and offers consulting programs for builders and their online sales teams. And then finally, our fearless leader, Kimberly Mackey. This woman can do 10 things at one time. She brings multitasking to a whole new level. Just
don't tell people that.
Well, it's very true. In 4 weeks, she has pretty much mastered Zoom, which is not the easiest thing in the world to master when you're trying to be a presenter at the same time. But Kimberly is the founder of New Homes Solutions Consulting, LLC. It's a sales and marketing management consulting for builders, developers, and large brokers firm. So thank you, ladies, once again. I do appreciate everything I learned from you each week. So let's jump in. I started by talking about how things feel differently. Let's start with more forward momentum this week. I know I felt it. We have 17 people in the chat room that have felt it and are commenting. So, Kimberly, what are you feeling what are you feeling as far as forward momentum?
Well, I have had the opportunity to talk to so many people this week from around the country, from the big builders to the small builders, and even Ryan Miller from Cleveland Research, who gave me a wonderful quote today that I was remiss in getting into our slide deck. But just what we saw is not what we expected to this point. As like D.R. Horton revised all of their numbers, they're only down 11%. So that's pretty phenomenal. 11% from their original projection, not from the revised down projection. So sales are still happening. I had people in bidding wars over the last homes and communities. I saw in the Florida market, I saw increased walk-in traffic, and I was seeing that again with small builders, with the big builders. So finally, I've been, last week I kind of had to take a cattle prod to some of my salespeople to get some energy going with them. And this week, because lo and behold, they had people in front of them and people were calling, and their energy was just remarkable. So, salespeople feed off of their buyers coming in. They feed off of that activity. And when they're separated from that, oh my gosh, I really used my minor in psychology for the past 6 weeks, trying to keep them together and keep them focused, because they just weren't seeing enough people. And even the stuff they did have going, they were like, so I'm really glad to see that energy come back, because if we can keep that energy, just turn the news off. Just keep that energy going. If nothing else, you'll make your own things happen.
Thanks, Kimberly. You're right. Turn the news off, because half of it isn't accurate anyway. But and that's not a slight to anybody in journalism. My middle child was a journalism major, so I'll give you a bit of advice as far as news. Somebody gave this advice to me. In the morning, as soon as you get up, as you're brushing your teeth, listen to newsy headlines. It takes under a minute, and it's all the news you need. So it's Newsy. They have an app. I do it through Alexa. All right. What are you feeling, Leah?
I definitely feel the more positive energy going on. I think our tone is shifting. I think that we need to shift with it and not continue on with the sort of we still need to be empathetic, but just this total empathy approach is a little bit much now, and we need to start asking people about what's going to re-energize them. What I'm really hearing from my online sales counselors across the country is a lot of positive feedback. One of my sales counselors sent me a message through Facebook that she finally had time to run her numbers for the year, and her leads are accounting for 75% of overall sales. Another one said 95% of her leads were accounted for sales for this current month, and that they're seeing their traffic up. She's had to turn off her online chat because it's just blowing up and she can't do the phones and the chats at the same time. Another one who had really down leads, she said she's starting to set appointments again. She's starting to get that out there, and they're turning into sales. So I'm hopeful. I know that region by region, we're all a little different in what we're experiencing, but I think it's really good to see that sales are happening, and that D.R. Horton news is great, because I think a lot of times we look at ourselves compared to the really big guys out there. And I just think as we start seeing more and more opening up, we should do it tentatively and carefully, but get people out there because they want to get out.
Agreed. Carol, how about you?
Well, I live in the Wild West down here in Georgia. We've been all over the news because, as of last week, you could get a haircut or a tattoo or go bowling. And now our restaurants are open. And then officially, as of midnight last night, we're off our shelter-in-place orders. Now, there are still some caveats to that. If you are, elderly or have diabetes or, a number of other things, there still have a shelter-in-place order that I think goes through June 12th or June 15th. I'd have to look at that, but it's pretty long, time span still, but it's really exciting. And I know that we have Kimberly Garwood with Trayton on the call, because I saw her log in, and we've been very excited that, sales get to start again. Everybody's going to be selling again, and obviously practicing social distancing and, safety and cleaning in between. But we're excited to see what this weekend brings as far as traffic in Atlanta. And then I'm also really encouraged this week that Pennsylvania, we have several builders we work for in Pennsylvania, and they are allowed to build again. Now, it depends, I think, county by county or city by city, whether they can actually sell. I have one client that can build, but can't sell yet. So, it's still kind of all over the place. But overall, I'm very, very encouraged. I feel like that this week, for the first time, everything slowed down maybe just a hair, and people were starting to breathe again. And everything and every call and every email I got for once wasn't a giant fire where I had to drop everything and take care of something. So I feel like, it's the new normal. It's certainly not the old normal, but, things are going really well. So very encouraged.
Yeah, there's actually a comment in here where it was at the beginning where someone said, definitely feels better. It feels like people are just getting used to your point, Carol, the new normal. So Angela, as our special guest, what are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling, and I'm in Canada, so we've started to see some positive results. I'm on the West Coast. But we've had a bit of a roller coaster ride. There's no question. And I feel like it's a little less frantic, whatever, what Carol is saying. I think there's a little bit of calmness settling in. Maybe it's acceptance of what that new normal is. And, where people are looking at it from a different lens. So there's a lot more positivity versus the fear. And I think we're definitely headed in the right direction.
Good to hear. So it seems like there's a common theme here, and most of it is positivity, and I'm feeling it from the chat room as well. So Kimberly, I'm going to start with you. As we feel this forward momentum and we feel some positivity, a sense of calm, or perhaps accepting the new normal, in this new normal, how do you inspire your sales team?
So I've given this one a lot of thought, guys, because I'm telling you, my minor in psychology has never been more useful than over the last 6 weeks. Every coaching call, every planned encounter that I've had with salespeople all over the country, I mean, some of them have been quite emotional. Some of them, it's a cleansing session for them, and I just have to let them get everything out because there's so much built up emotion. And for some of them, I might be the only person that they've seen, even though they're seeing me over video. So, it's important for us as leaders in the company to understand that salespeople by very nature are emotional people. That's what makes them so good. They're empathetic. They can sense and they feel their buyers' emotions, those who do it well. And, they're able to take that and move forward with that. So, think about your sales team right now. They need you. I know I've said that for 6 weeks, but they really need you right now because you're probably, if your sales are down, which for most of us they are, you're needing those sales. They have people that they can work, but they're going to have to be held accountable. And I always say you can't motivate someone, but this branch, the graphic that we have up here, you can accentuate, you can highlight, you can track, and you can see those achievements. So I like to reward right behavior. Now this week I had one of my builders who totally went off the rail, and it was blowing up my phone. Why are these salespeople, why are they not doing this? Why are you having to manage that? And I even joked with the sales team. I'm like, well, welcome to day 3 of micromanagement. And we all laughed. We're starting to do a 10-minute powwow in the morning every day. And then they're sending me a report every evening of what they're doing. And I'm coaching them on, okay, so you hit this roadblock. Try this. Did you ask this? What about? you have to get to that level with them to kind of clear the cobwebs and let them remember what they need to do to overcome those objections. I mean, literally had an objection this week that, oh, well, the homeowners association documents say I can't park in the road, so I can't buy this house. I was like, seriously? Yeah. So, you know, it's amazing to me. And they just got stuck and they kind of wanted to play bumper cars. I was like, no, clear these cobwebs out, explore it, handle it just like you would any other objection. So tell me, why do you need to park in the drive or park in the road when you have a 3-car garage and 9 cars will fit in your driveway? How often would you have more than 9 cars? You have to help people put things in perspective right now. So if you're not working with your sales team, then I encourage you to get in there, roll up your sleeves, or bring somebody in to help temporarily coach them if you've got somebody who's just stuck and needs to just get going again. And we know that once they do get going again, you know, and you reward that behavior, then they're going to be empowered because they're going to start selling. And once they sell, then they're on a roll and they're back. But some of even the best salespeople that I've talked to that, you know, normally just can't get down. It's been amazing how, you know, we've kind of had to pull them back from the brink. And I've gone from trying to hold their hand and walk beside them to getting behind them and pushing them to occasionally, like I said, getting the cattle prod or the pointy toe shoes out. So I did put a blog post that I have. It's actually it's a category that I have because it was a 3-part series on fantastic salespeople and where to find them. But the first set in that series is all about what salespeople should be doing, what salespeople, their attitude should be like, what to look for in your salespeople. And I'm guessing that when you look at that, you'll go, yes, these are my best salespeople. This is what they do. And salespeople, for those of you who are on, welcome, and you know, review that too, because it's a good reminder to go, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and do it now more than ever, even if you aren't in your model centers. Organize, time block. It's a block and tackle right now. I'm going to call my prospects at this time. I'm going to reach out to my realtors at this time. If I've got inventory out there, I'm going to focus on the features. I'm going to focus on the benefits and what story does that home tell. And I'm going to call every realtor I know and tell the story of this home and who's going to live in it. That it's a family who is looking for a great room where they can all be together, but not right on top of each other. That it has this separate study off to the side that would be fantastic as a home office, a home gym, or maybe even just a separate place for the kids to do their homework and be right off of the beaten path. You tell that story to the realtors, and that will help them to engage with their prospects that they're working, because we also have to fire up those outside realtors out there. So hopefully, Kelly, that answered your question. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, just go ahead and move on here to one of the topics that I just touched on, and that is that you have got to have your sales team making phone calls. Every day they need to be calling, and the close is different right now. The close is not, hey, come on by and see me, because most of us can't just have people just popping right on by. The close is to close for the appointment, or if you could even get everybody on the phone right then, go ahead and have that appointment with them when you're talking to them. Go back through that database. We've got to spring clean the database. Everybody that you have in your Lasso CRM, Angela, that they've got on those C's and D's list, now's the time to go in there and pick up the phone and call them. Ask them, hey, how are you doing? And engage with them that way. And then once you engage with them, start dreaming with them. Ask them, you know, hey, you know, we're all getting antsy. We're all ready to get out and about. So tell me, once life goes back to whatever normal looks like, what are your plans? Are you finding after being cooped up in your home that it's inspiring you even more to build that new home? if you're asking questions like that, you're really going to engage with these people, and you're going to find out, are they really a C lead, which means they're not going to buy for probably 6 months or more? Are they D, meaning they're not quite dead, but they're on the verge of dead because they can't really buy? So you need to clean them out of there. Or maybe they're ready to move up. Maybe they're more inspired than ever. Don't be surprised at people that you think they go, oh, well, they were an entry-level buyer, or oh, they were this, or oh, they were that. If you haven't touched base with them in a while, if you haven't actually talked to them, don't assume, because you know what happens when you assume. And this is the time that you have to do this. Schedule those appointments. And if you follow up in a very personal way and you empathize, take the time to talk to people, they'll engage with you. It's really, really incredible, but engage with purpose so that you know that you need to move forward toward that appointment. Whether they're buying now, they're buying 3 months from now, they can still get engaged with you, and there are things that they can accomplish. Again, whether it's now, whether it's 3 months from now, whether it's before Christmas, whatever it is, and talk to them about that end. Begin with the end in mind, as Dr. Covey tells us. So when do they want to be in their new home? Because you're going to have to work backwards from there. And we know the timeline has changed. I mean, you know, my own home that I'm getting ready to build, I was supposed to be in August. Well, now I'm going to be thrilled if I'm in by Christmas. That's a big jump. And of course, has caused me to have to jump through some hurdles too. So, you know, engage with them and work backwards on that timeline and be real with them, because they may think that, oh, it's only going to take me 3 or 4 months. Oh, it's only going to take me 4 or 5 months. And in fact, it could be 6, 8 months, 9 months now. So make sure that you're communicating that in the form of questions, not in the form of telling, by asking them what's important to them.
Kimberly, you mentioned on that slide, and I'm sorry you jumped ahead, but I want to ask you a question or make a comment. You talked about on this slide, follow up in ways that people will notice. I just want to share something. As I said, I'm on the mortgage side of things, but I lead a group of people that are business development that try to grow our new construction business by working with a lot of the people on this call and getting your attention. And in a way to be different, in ways that people will notice, that I think you can adopt these on the selling side, regardless of what you're selling. We had 2 things happen this week. We had one of our regional builder sales consultants out in Denver was very energized by the NFL draft and felt like his Denver Broncos scored an A. Well, he found on some website Denver Broncos socks, like nicer socks. And he bought every single pair that they had because they were very inexpensive. And he forwarded them, mailed them with a little note to every single builder developer where we couldn't get the attention of their sales agents, and sent it to the sales agent saying, I think we scored an A in the draft. Support your Denver Broncos. Nice talking to you. Enjoy the socks. Troy Arnold, Wells Fargo. We had another person, Sean Loomis, who's our RBSC in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Ohio. He has taken to sending very quick 20-second video messages, text messages. So instead of just typing a text message, he'll video himself doing something really outlandish, singing a song, lip syncing. I mean, they have been fantastic, but they have been attention grabbers, right? So imagine if you go into your database as a sales agent, and instead of just picking up the phone, do a quick 20-second video clip of yourself and send it to them. Maybe that's exactly what they were looking for at that moment. If nothing else, it gets you noticed. So that's what jumped off the page for me here, Kimberly. Do things that get you noticed, because you need to stand out from the crowd, right?
That's absolutely right. And Amazon may not be doing same day and 24-hour deliveries on Prime anymore, but they are still delivering. So you can still get stuff out there.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on. And Leah, I'm going to direct my next question to you. How do you coax those older leads to engage outside of some of the things that we've already talked about?
Well, and I think it's really a great question, and it's different because what you guys have given information on, which is amazing, which people should be utilizing, is definitely people who you know already, you've talked to. That's the difference between how many online sales counselors or people who have online sales counselors. Put up in the chat if you're an online sales counselor or you have an online sales counselor, because they have a little bit more of an uphill battle to deal with than the aged leads that are in a site agents database, or even the people that Kelly are talking about, because Kelly's people have talked to and have relationships with those agents and those builders, and they're trying to grow and remind them of those relationships. Same with Kimberly. You know, with Kimberly, her agents have at some point in time met these people. That's why they're in their database. So they've had some sort of face-to-face, even if they were rated as a C or a D eventually. There was some sort of engagement process that had happened. But unfortunately, for online sales counselors, we often see that we have a certain percentage of leads that never respond to us. So there's two types of aged leads in a database for online sales counselors. There's those that have maybe responded a little bit and then gone cold, a little bit like what Kimberly's agents deal with. And then there's the ones that have never, ever responded at all. And I know, you know, things have changed from week to week. This happens for a builder on a regular basis, but it's been even more change happening now. So we often set up follow-up processes that don't look at them that often. And one of the first things we said, and we pivoted to just a few weeks ago when we started these webinars, is to make sure that you're looking at those long-term follow-up processes and changing them up so you're not sending out the wrong messaging. Well, it's the same right now, because like we've talked about at the very beginning of this, with energy increasing, with tone changing, we need to keep making sure we stay on top of that so it doesn't come off so generic, and we don't still have generic. Nobody wants to hear the word COVID-19 anymore, you know? So we need to make sure to be taking that out of any of the follow-up we set up even 3 weeks ago, and changing that up. And so I know just a few weeks ago I said focus on those older leads you have that have engaged. And I often call these revival campaigns. But you can still try to revive those old leads that have never responded. And you can come up with some fun ways to do it. And I know Angela, because she's our CRM expert on here, is going to get into talking about partitioning your database and not blasting out the same message to everyone. And she's going to give you a lot more eloquent ideas on that. But for me, what I always tell online sales counselors is it's not just a one and done kind of email when you're trying to revive those old leads. It has to be a follow-up process. That's why I call it a revival campaign. You have to think about what that plan is and what touch points and elements are going to be in that plan. And you also have to remember, you're trying not to be pushy, okay? You don't want to do something that's pushing them. A lot of our old emails, especially when we were open for business as usual, were set an appointment, set an appointment, set an appointment. And we need to be careful and kind of pivot to more interactive ideas. And I brainstormed a bunch of ideas last night as I was putting this together, and anything from creating a how-to video for them, like how to get through your website, and offering that as a link that you click, whether it's in an email or a video email or something like that. You're going to see engagement as to whether they're clicking the link, not whether or not they're necessarily replying to you, but by creating a bunch of things that you might have to brainstorm with your marketing department, like maybe create a checklist for new home buyers and send that out, because especially to those people who never responded to you before, that may be helpful in them understanding the whole home buying process. Maybe they want to click on that checklist and utilize it. When you send that email out or that video email saying, hey, look at the link down there, check out our checklist, you can see if they're engaging by simply clicking the link. And then other ideas we came up with before were some surveys and quizzes. I think surveys and quizzes are super interactive ways to get people to engage with you. I mean, people take quizzes all the time on Facebook just to see, you know, what celebrity they're most like, or what their ideal vacation location would be. So coming up with creative surveys or quizzes to help engage people will help them pass the time in their houses. So your revival campaigns can go out to both your previously older leads that have communicated with you and those that haven't, but you want to change them up so it's not one generic way. And there's all kinds of ways to partition your database so that you know what someone is specifically looking at. I'm going to give you guys, I don't want to take up too much time because there's so much valuable information today that we have to share. I am going to put a blog post up on my website, Blue Gypsy Inc., later today that has specific language that you can use, or scripting you can use either in video, email, or text, along with some of these ideas that I have. So I want you to be able to access that. But one thing that I want to share is that when you do these revival campaigns, make sure you take responsibility that you haven't contacted someone in a while. Okay, I was looking at my shopper account and I saw a video email from someone out of nowhere who I shopped probably 8 months ago, and all I ever received from them were marketing emails. And I bet Angela's gonna get into this. But all I ever received was marketing emails. And then boom, one video email to like 2 weeks ago. And it was great to see it from the standpoint of me shopping. But I think to really have hit the nail on the head with the buyer, if I was a buyer, saying something to the effect of, I know that I haven't sent you anything personal in a while. Like, take responsibility, be transparent, and be clear. So that's really what you want to do when you're coaxing out and trying to engage with these older leads. And so I hope that answers your question, Kelly, and kind of gives people some food for thought and ideas on how to do this.
It does. And Leah, I think it's great that you're going to share that scripting on your blog. I think it's very helpful and very generous of you. That's one of the things that's been coming out of this whole experience is people are working together at a much higher level and deeper level. It's really nice. So, Carol, what the hashtag?
Well, hashtags, I'm actually going to put a blog post up that you guys can go to, and it is on this slide as well. But I get asked what the hashtag a lot. Hashtags still confuse a lot of people. So some of you still may call it a pound sign. So that's 2006. So the hashtag came out in 2007 with the dawn of Twitter. And they were used to categorize tweets because way back in the early days of social media, there was no way to categorize anything. You couldn't search Twitter and find anything. So some smart person realized that if you used a pound sign, now a hashtag, in front of that search, then you could search for what everybody's talking about related to that, phrase or that word. So you can use them to categorize things. You can use them, to create a campaign. That's where we see them probably the most in our industry. But savvy marketers have figured out that effective hashtag use equates to new leads, increased interactions, more followers, and improved engagement. So some of the best practices are, to use them on the sites where they make sense. So first of all, people expect to see them on Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest, not so much on Facebook unless it's a campaign. But they're becoming more prevalent on LinkedIn because LinkedIn has changed some things on the site and made hashtags more prevalent there. So they're becoming kind of more mainstream across all the social sites. You want to make sure you choose the right hashtags. And I'll stick these two links up after I'm done with my slide. But there's a couple of sites that can help you. And I love both of these sites. One's called righttag.com and the other one's best-hashtags.com. and they'll help you find the most popular hashtags, the ones that work best over time. You can go in there and search hashtags related to home builders or custom home builders or mortgages or, lumber or whatever it is that's your specialty, and find the hashtags that are most used in your segment of our industry. And I love looking those up because it really does help. You can also create custom hashtags. I've talked about this a little bit. And we're seeing a lot of those related to COVID-19. And I'm going to go over the most popular ones in just a minute. And hashtags for networking. Of course, anyone who's been to the International Builder Show knows that we use, hashtag IBS 2020 or hashtag IBS Vegas, and kind of changes back and forth, or maybe we use both of them. So that's a way to find other people who are at events that you're at. So now, popular and trending right now, and some of these are hilarious. Of course, obviously COVID-19 and coronavirus are two of the biggest ones. But then there's things like Stay at Home Challenge, which showcases all the most imaginative ways to pass time while hanging out at home. And that one can get some really funny stuff on it. There's Safe Hands, and those are basically videos of people washing their hands correctly. Okay, who knew? Stay Home, Stay Safe, Stay Home, which is, urging people to stay home. I Stay Home For. So maybe it's I stay home for nurses. I stay home for my grandmother. I stay home to prevent the spread, so that hashtag is used for why you stay home. I like this one, View from My Window. So, what are you looking at while you're stuck inside? I think that one's really fun. My Pandemic Survival Plan. Another interesting one. People are using it to share how they're passing the time. And then they're also using it to plan their great next adventure, whether that's some giant hike across the United States or it's a trip to Europe. So people are using that one for all sorts of different fun reasons. I think the one we're using a lot is Together at Home. I see that one a lot in our industry. And I've even seen Together at Home blogging campaigns. I mentioned the one from SR Homes, I think last week or the week before, and that's a really nice campaign. Quarantine and Chill. COVID Idiots, where you use the ID. So it's like one word. So it's COVID IOT. But those are the people you don't want to be. So those are the dumb things you see people doing. That one's hilarious. Social distancing, flatten the curve, with me, with you, and then this one's fun. I'm doing fine. And then you give the because. I'm doing fine because my dog is with me. I'm doing fine because I have toilet paper. So I'm making Kelly laugh. So there's some fun ones that you can have a little bit of fun with these. They're trending. We might as well use them. If you can tie them into your messages, especially on Twitter, but they're also trending in places like Instagram and Pinterest as well. So use some of the fun ones if you can tie them with your messages to get more attention for your homes and for your products.
So Carol, that's what's trending as far as hashtags. When you mentioned Pinterest a couple of times, what's trending on Pinterest right now?
Well, that is a very interesting question. So obviously Pinterest has seen hugely increased traffic during the shelter-in-place orders, as all of our websites have, as all websites nationwide have seen. The social media management tool Tailwind compiled a great list of the current popular search trends on Pinterest. So this might help you create a better pin strategy. And I'm really just going to highlight the ones that I think are relevant to what we might be talking about, because there's a ton of them. So under the health, wellness, self-care, finding balance, stress relief, stress quotes, self-care at home, and exercise routine at home. Obviously all things we can tie into spaces in the home and things that would make sense to be in our social media or on our pin boards. Parenting and homeschooling. I think all of these apply to us. Home games for kids, easy lunch ideas for kids. Now this one's interesting to me because it's up 128 times from pre-COVID. It's probably the highest one in this entire list I'm going to give you. Easy lunch ideas for kids. So maybe a good idea of something that we should be putting out there, huh? Science experiments with kids. I thought that one was fun. Science experiments can go wrong though. Indoor activities with kids, work from home with kids. Everything related to food is trending, but these are the top ones. Freezer meals, bread in a crock pot. Who knew? Sweet Amish bread, how to make tortillas. Again, who knew? And then yeastless bread recipes. Under beauty and personal care, spa day at home is trending. Great opportunity to showcase our bathrooms, maybe give some tips for having your own spa day in this fabulous bathroom, and pin that to Pinterest using all the right words and hashtags. Entertainment, family movies, indoor date ideas, and family activities at home are big. Then under hobbies and home, this is probably no surprise. I think I've talked about some of these before. Victory gardens and how to start a garden for beginners. And then best books to read. And then this one's kind of fun, holiday and events, gift baskets, virtual graduation parties, and I'm sorry, this one's really important, so everybody should pay attention. Mother's Day at home. I think every one of us, you know, wants to make sure we're not left out on Mother's Day, because I guess nobody's taking us out to lunch, right? So I think this is a good one that we should all embrace as the industry and make sure we take care of all these fantastic mothers that are not going to have their typical Mother's Day. And I'll put some other links up. Pinterest does what they call the Pinterest 100, and they talk about all the different trends, and I'm not going to go over all of them, but ones related to home hub are kind of cool. So what they see trending are home theaters, indoor microgreens, indoor water fountains, coffee stations, audio rooms, work from home wear, garden room, home brewing, and granny pods. So all kind of interesting and things that I think we could be pinning about. So hopefully that gives you some ideas related to how to improve your Pinterest strategy and take advantage of what's trending out there.
Thanks, Carol. Appreciate it. Leah, so I'm not sure if this is, you know, as things reopen, right, and we're doing a lot more online sales, Leah, how do we transition or do a smooth transition from online to on-site?
That's a great question, Kelly. And I really want to talk about how it's always been important to have this smooth transition. You can definitely utilize steps in your CRM, which we can transition that over to Angela, but it doesn't matter whether we're setting an appointment for a prospect to visit the community in person or we're creating a virtual appointment. With one of our agents, we just need to make sure that we don't want to leave our customers hanging, sort of like in this picture where they're hanging out there and they don't know what they're supposed to do. So we need to define an easy path for that customer to follow forward as we transition them to from online to on-site. And we also need to use a process that's well-defined and well-traveled to create that smooth handoff. It starts with gathering information. Having a checklist can be helpful, but don't be an order taker going down that checklist in a rote, repetitive way. Different prospects will have different things to tell you, and you need to listen to their information and not try to shoehorn them into your list. So that's really important. Once you are ready to transition to the appointment, you need to set an expectation for the buyer. Both gathering information and setting expectations are an important part of a smooth handoff process and can't be overlooked. Once you've been through the discovery and you're ready to set an appointment, make sure to set the expectation depending on the way you all are running things. So even though things are changing now and we may get back to normal where they're all on-site appointments, you need to let the buyer know what to expect moving forward. And that should be the same across the board. It needs to be something that the agent is also expecting. So as long as both sides are in the loop and you're keeping your agent aware and your client aware of what is going on, you're going to create a much smoother transition. And there are steps along that transition that are important to happen from both the online and the on-site agent. So the on-site agent still needs to be doing some follow-up from their end and guiding, and basically, if you look at that tightrope, moving that buyer from the online to the on-site side of things. It really has to be agreed upon, duplicable process that not only does the buyer know what to expect, but the site agent knows what to expect. And a lot of this can be done inside your CRM as you're passing information, as you're passing off that, that appointment. And so I hope that answers the question for smooth transitions. There's so many ways that we can look at this, but I want to be able to make sure there's enough time for us to get to some of the great stuff Angela's going to share.
Yeah, so thank you, Leah. It's a great transition for me to direct a question to Angela. And Angela, thank you for holding tight. Our inboxes are at capacity because of this crisis. So what's working as far as email communication, and what should we stay away from right now?
Well, it's a good question, and I think Carol said it a couple of weeks ago, and I know I've said it to a few of our customers in the last few weeks. Stay away from the word COVID in your subject line. I think we're past that right now, and I think there is so much clutter, and I think we're kind of doing a lot of swiping left or swiping right, whatever it is, to delete when it comes to sort of updates in that area. And we have to look at everything from the lens of the customer and the prospect and what they're expecting. And I know, Kimberly, you touched on it, and so did you, Leah, and Carol, just in your comments about, what people are looking for and what they're interested in. We have to respond to them in that way, in that personalized way. And we also have to look at multiple ways of communication. Email marketing is one way. It can be a very effective way, but you also want to make sure that you have permission to send as well. And Leah, you talked about it, the importance of segmenting your list and sending the right information, or the personalized information to the right people. So you've got to know what's in your database. One size does not fit all. You should be customizing the message based on where your prospects are in the buying process. And what I'm seeing a little bit is more is we're really answering the question why, and as opposed to sort of telling them what we think, what we want them to know. We're actually responding to the questions of why something is important to them. And if we can do that, and if we can achieve, we will get far better engagement and we'll get far better responses.
Terrific. Thanks, Angela. So how do we create a great experience for our customers?
That's, first of all, we have to really know where people are at in the buying cycle. We need to utilize the systems that we have in place. And certainly, from my perspective, having a CRM and understanding the engagement of our prospects and understanding those different trigger points of and customizing the message. If they've told us that they're interested in the 2-bedroom.
We appear to be experiencing some technical difficulties. Please stand by.
It looks like Angela may have froze, but I think where she was going is that if somebody says they're interested in a 2-bedroom home or something like that, then you need to make sure your messaging moving forward isn't offering them those 5-bedroom homes. So your messaging needs to match what your buyer has inquired about. And it happens all too often that our messaging is so generic that we're not addressing that. Hopefully Angela will come back soon because she's got great information.
Oh. Yeah, I think we lost Angela, but you know what? We have about 10 minutes left. I see something here that Nancy just put in as Angela tries to come back. Angela!
I'm not sure what happened there. I've had so many different glitches. That's a first.
Well, Kevin seems to think it's the Canadian internet.
Maybe it is. Like, you know what? That's it quite possibly is. We've got. I'll stop there. We'll keep politics out of it. But the most important thing is really understanding is relevancy, and I can't say enough about that. Is making sure that you understand where somebody is at in the buying process and providing them the information that they need and that they want. It's guiding them as opposed to telling them.
All right, everyone. Well, some really good content, really great ideas. I found this week's segment to be packed full of lots of idea sharing. So we're going to open it up to the group to ask your questions in the chat box. But I do see one right here. I don't know, that's a question or a comment from Nancy. Nancy says, I have not tracked my internet leads, but I'm trying to pay attention nowadays. Seems pretty consistent, about 3 a week for me personally at my community. And that comment came from a question that Carol posed in the chat room. So Carol, do you want to ask that question aloud to the group?
Sure, I'd love to know. I actually had somebody ask me this via email this morning, and I said, oh, I'll ask the group on the webinar today. So do all builders experience ups and downs with regard to web lead submissions, or is it possible to create or maintain a consistent number of leads from month to month? Anyone want to chime in on that?
Well, I will say with my builders, we do experience ups and downs, and a lot of it has to do with what we're doing socially, what we're doing, what we're putting out there. And I will see those leads when we start to engage with people socially and not just put up a house with an elevation on it on your Facebook page or on your social media. And it's something interesting. And then all of a sudden, then I start seeing leads coming in. You got, SEO and SEM, yes, absolutely very important. Retargeting, we've talked about the Facebook pixel and all of those things in the past. But that engagement with your audience, and as well as then using your CRM for those who have already engaged. And, one of the really cool things about Lasso is then when those buyers are coming back, when those prospects are back and they're on there and they're checking things out again. And it's just, they may resubmit, they may even forget that they submitted in the past. That's my favorite. It's almost like you get a blank slate. It's like, mulligan, let's get a do-over. So you have to engage with those people, right, Angela?
That's right. It's always, that's one of our most favorite and most popular features of just being able to identify those really interested prospects, and not being too, big brotherish, but being able to address what they're looking for, and be really smart in the process, right? You look good.
It's kind of creepy cool. That's what I always call it.
Exactly.
And Angela, Kimberly, you both, Kimberly, you started by saying being social, right? And you all said making sure you have the right message. I'm going to share an email that I received in my inbox Wednesday. I won't say where it's from, just in case it's somebody on the call. I don't want to appear to be giving anyone free publicity here, but the subject line in the email was "Fresh new homes delivered by drone." I was like, this is so cool. I'm opening this. And then it really got my attention, because it said, when I opened up the email, it said, come view home by drone this Saturday, 10 a.m. So I'm in the process of figuring out where I'm going to live in the next chapter of my life. I'm definitely joining that. But I have to tell you, just that subject line is what really stood out to me. Angela?
Subject lines, you will often hear someone say they will, they'll open an email based on who the sender is, but they'll read the email based on what the subject line is. And it is an important, often overlooked aspect of email marketing. You don't want to be misleading, but you want to create excitement. You want to create interest. Absolutely, it could be a whole webinar talking about subject lines.
Yeah, and you also have to be careful in your subject lines with some of the punctuation you use, because certain things can just send it straight to someone's junk mail. And so you might have had the greatest subject line, and then you put 3 exclamation points after it, and boom, it's in junk, right?
Yeah, so exclamation marks, as excited as you might be, tone down the exclamation marks. Same with uppercase letters as well. That can cause, there's a few, and certain wording when you talk about offers and incentives and free and all sorts of things like that. You have to be very careful.
Even the word sales. Yeah, you gotta what? Yeah, all of those words can send things straight to spam when you do that.
There's lots of tools out there to test I'll use the term spamminess of an email. So there's a lot of factors within deliverability, but there's a couple of tools. One is called Litmus, another one is Email on Acid, and they're great tools to determine the likelihood of your email getting to the inbox.
Oh, Kelly, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. That's all very interesting. Every week I'm on this, I learn something new. I had no idea about the exclamation points or the capital letters. Very interesting. All right, we are beginning to run out of time and coming to the top of the hour. Are there any last comments anyone would like to share? Carol, anything you'd like to share to close out?
I heard a really great phrase this week, and I think it plays into a lot of what we see people doing wrong in marketing. So, we're all familiar with random acts of kindness. Those are good things to have. But random acts of marketing are not always a great thing. And, we're all guilty of it from time to time. You parachute that social media post in there because you think it's a good idea, but it really has nothing to do with anything else you have planned for the month. So just, having a plan, especially as we start to come out of this, looking at that messaging, maybe, looking at your messaging just a week or two at a time instead of doing it all at once, which is probably more labor intensive, but I think it's going to be really important as things keep changing almost daily as it relates to shelter in place and can we build or not build, or can we sell or not sell. So marketing with intent.
Great. Leah, 30 seconds, your final comments.
I just think, attitude is everything, and we need to keep energizing our customers and not, using terms that are like COVID anymore. We need to just keep moving forward, keep moving the momentum forward. If we energize them moving forward, they're going to move forward.
Great. Kimberly, 30 seconds.
I agree. Celie Holmes asked a question. She wanted the litmus test that Angela had talked about. So can you type that one in, Angela, and let her know?
Sure. Yeah.
And, for me, it's about that energy and the empathy that we're putting out there. I think we need to understand where people are, but I think we have a role to help people to know that this is not the end of the world, and that things are going to happen again. And we're going to be able to go outside in the sunshine one more time, so our salespeople play a key role in that. And as sales managers, it's our job to make sure that our salespeople are keeping those messages on task. So work with your sales teams. Your energy is contagious, and it's contagious internally and externally.
And Angela, how about you? Any final comments?
Yeah, I'm going to give you something a little bit tactical. I challenge everyone to really know what's in your CRM and what's in your database. So, the source of the lead, the age of the lead, the ratings, what you've got in there. And then as Carol, I had written down, have a plan. So, take that information and then act on it and create a plan.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to everybody who joined us again this week. We had some good numbers today. Again, I'll close with, it felt really different this week, and I hope the next time we come together for this webinar that it's even more positive. Be well, everyone. Enjoy your weekend and get outdoors. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.